I got to tell you, the whole structural gap thing is difficult for me to really wrap my head around. I honestly, I just don't quite get it, and I've been trying for a long time. And we have been talking about, you know, do we want to spend more or less? Do we want to borrow more or less? And that's sort of the way that I think of it. What is the right path out? I mean, I'm very glad that we are reducing the mythical structural gap, and we're getting there, and I'm real excited about that. But
well,
if it's gonna pop up again in a couple of years, what's the right path for us to avoid that? Do we simply spend less in the operating budget, or do we simply borrow less in the capital budget? What's the right path?
There are three paths, and they can each be used in some proportion. One is, of course, to reduce your debt load. You either
retire debt.
Okay. You use your cash to substitute for authorizing debt.
Okay.
That's one approach. The other two influences are simply the implied growth rates of your revenues and your spending. If you're even and they move together, well, then you don't have a structural problem. Your revenues and spending are moving roughly in tandem. However, if your spending, as it does, tends to grow at 5%, and your revenues tend to grow at 4%, over time, there will be a gap. Now, we are at a point now where our revenues are actually above our spending. But given the differing trajectories, that excess of revenue over spending will diminish over time and eventually be overtaken.
So flatten the rate of growth in the spending.
So you slow spending, or you create a more sprightly revenue base. Doesn't necessarily mean more revenues, but the mix could be changed to things which have a better likelihood of increasing over time. Some revenues are like a property tax grows very slowly, but it's very reliable. An income tax goes up and it goes down. So you have to just look at it. One of the areas where you might make some trade-offs is in the sales tax, taxing services as opposed to goods, and increase the tax on services and reduce the rate on overall, and that could be a neutral. But overall, the tax base may grow faster than it would if you stay with our current narrow base.
Okay, so
but you can go on either end. You can go on the revenue side. You can go on the spending side. Or
you got a third one? Or was that the third one?
Well,
I'm taking notes. I really am.
I don't know, but those are really your options. Working with debt really is just working on your spending line, because your spending is on debt service.
Okay, so retire the debt, and this is Budget 101 for Budget for Dummies. Hang with me. Retire the debt, slow spending, or broaden the tax base.
Change your revenue base to one that grows faster.